Exactly a minute to the top of the hour. We train our focus to matters of budgeting and debt management. It is the festive season, and oftentimes there's a tendency to just spend perhaps more than enough or underspend. So this is what you're set to converse in like the next 40 or 45 minutes with my guests. They'll be helping us understand how to budget, how to plan, and also how to manage debts, particularly just during this season. I'm joined by Chege to my far left. That is Chege Mwangi, who's a programs coordinator at Excellence Moulders International, and right next to her at the center is Mbui Gitau, the founder and CEO Excellence Moulders International. Not new to the program.
Yes,
we want to discuss something different today.
Yes.
You know, I just read somewhere that said it takes minimal effort to create and maintain a budget. First of all, how true is this, and to what extent? Let me start with you, Peter, on this one.
Okay. That is actually true.
It is.
In the sense that there are two components to a budget. There's a component of actually doing a budget, and there's a component of implementing the budget. And we say in planning that 1 minute of planning, in essence, saves you 10 minutes of implementation. So, and the same is actually true in our finances. So if you take your time to actually plan your finances very well, it will save you a lot in how you will actually now go out and implement the various objectives that you have around your money. So of course it's true, it's easy to budget, but it requires a lot of things, and I like to say the key thing that is required for a budget is actually discipline.
Is it easy to budget? Is it an easy thing? Because you realize anytime you even mention the topic budgeting, or you think about budgeting, already someone cringes.
Why this happens is because many people do not want to live within a limit, and that's why now it would say it actually becomes difficult. It is not easy, but it is simple but not easy. I hope that now answers it in the right way. That many people do not actually have the discipline to say, I can confine myself to a certain avenue or to a certain way of doing things. And therefore, when you tell me to budget, I'm thinking you are constraining me to a certain space. So if you are telling me about my rent, you are constraining me to a certain space. If you are telling me about how much I need to spend on my dressing, you are constraining me to a certain space. If you are telling me about how much to spend on entertainment, also in this Nairobi of ours, you are constraining me to a certain space, which I do not want. So that's why it is easy. It is simple but not easy.
Simple but not easy.
Yes.
Meaning it can be done.
It can be done.
But not easy.
Yes.
Mercy, I'd also like to get your perspective on this statement. Minimal effort to create and maintain a budget. And I'm sticking on this word, that minimal effort, because even me in my head I'm thinking it's not a minimal effort to just create and most of all maintain a budget.
Wow, I like the way you said minimal effort.
Yeah.
True it is, because budgeting is a simple way of saying planning. You're just doing a plan. That is simple. You just sit here and plan, and that can be done in the shortest time possible. Now, maintaining and implementing, now that is a whole
That's
new,
where the work is.
Yes, that is where the work is. And these one now, let me dive into the person themselves. What informed them that they need to plan, they need to budget? Because now this one is, where are you coming from? Because now that is where the implementation and maintaining comes in. Because if it is an intention, then you'll follow through. But if it's just it's a plan and a budget, then how will you do this? And this one now informs, what informs how you do it is, what are the intentions? What are the disciplines you're putting around it? I will not call it easy, that one, because we all coming from somewhere. Yes. When we talk about things without showing people the practicality of it, we lose them. Because sure, it is easy, simple, let us do a plan, let us do a budget. We are going to do this in January, we're going to do this in February, but who follows it through? Now this one, it brings to the point of that what I always say, self-awareness. How am I doing this? How will I implement it? How will I execute it? What are the tools I'm going to use? Now that is the aspect of how do I maintain the budget.
I'd want to get your perspective on perhaps what you do at Excellence Moulders when it comes to practicality, because you mentioned on that.
Yes.
But before I get there, the intention, something that Mercy has touched on, that even as you're thinking of budgeting and planning, it's coming from what intention lies within you. Do you think that's a part that we always miss, so that then it becomes easier as the first statement dictates, but then maintaining would tend to be a challenge?
I think unfortunately many a times we when we talk even about budgeting, the intention is founded many a times on an emotional aspect that I need to budget. I feel I need to budget. Why? Because I had an experience that really threw my finances off balance. Say for example, and even for example this period of the World Cup that has been, say somebody thought about, now there's the hype around football. So what do? I need to buy a serious big screen TV, I need to buy a big TV. Now the season is over. Then you realize there's a loan that you had actually defaulted on simply because you put your money into a TV that you had to watch for a period of less than a month. So the intention, really many a times you find that we decide to form a budget because of an experience, probably a negative experience, which then steers up our emotions, and therefore we say, let me actually now plan. Moving forward, I will not repeat this. I would like to think about it like from a point of somebody who goes and probably indulges in alcohol, drinks themselves out, and the following morning when they are having a crazy hangover, the one word they will always say, from today I will never touch alcohol again. From today I am now going to work on my religious, my spirituality. But in the next few days, when that emotion is gone, they slide back to. So as you're saying, that it's then important that the phrase of mind that you actually decide to do budgeting in is very important, because that will actually now give you the muscle to actually sustain. Because planning a budget or coming up with a budget is just sitting down and saying, this I will do, this I will do, this I will do. But the difficult part about budgeting is actually the implementation. Where now, Doreen, you are told you've been spending so much on your entertainment. Okay, that's part of who you are. Now I'm telling you, you need to spend about a third or half of that money, and you see I'm actually coming and telling you then that whatever I'm telling you to implement is actually cutting down on your lifestyle to a certain extent. So that is why the delicate balance comes into play. That this, I decided that I'm going to do budgeting from an emotional point, but now when it comes to the real implementation, it is reality. It is not how I'm feeling at this point in time. It is what I need to do for me to actually be able to be a better manager around my finances, and for me to be able to achieve the most out of my finances.
I hear you. You did touch on a negative experience also being intertwined with emotions as to why people would draw or make a budget. But then, have you considered that sometimes could be out of a positive experience, perhaps also that I tried to make a mini budget on something and it sort of worked? So
yes, it can also be from a positive aspect. I'll actually, if you allow me, I'll use an example. One of our clients the other day got a really nice job. Was working a job where they were earning about 250,000, and they got a job where they're now earning about $500,000. So he called me and he told me, Peter would want us to have a sitting to actually discuss the planning around this money. And this was actually a month before he actually landed this job. And we sat down and he drew me his plan and how he was actually intending to use the new amount of money that is actually coming in. So and in his budget was, I need to up my lifestyle, I need to move to a better house, I need to do all this. But after we sat down for almost 2 hours discussing budgeting for the new income, we came up with a few things that we will actually stick with until a period of 2 years are over. And believe you me, in about 3 months down the line, this client actually called me and told me, Peter, I have actually managed to live my life at the level of my previous income, because he had actually been able to put aside 750,000. Yes, regardless of an increase. But what would that in many people trigger? It would trigger what we call the lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
So I go into spend mode.
Yeah.
You know, I now buy
Change
a bigger car. Yes. And that was what in his budget, he had actually drawn those things. He was paying a rent of about 27,000. Now he want to go to a house where he's paying about 45,000. He's driving a nice, good, simple car. Told me, Peter, now I need a car that is a four-wheeler. I need something that I can, knowing the street language, I can test at the streets, you know. But after the conversation, you see 3 months down the line, he's telling me, Peter, I can't believe it, that 750,000 within 3 months is money that I've been able to put aside. That means I have not actually changed my lifestyle from what it was, simply because I have gotten an increment in my income.
An increment in income.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's one of also the mistakes that majority would actually make.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Me included. I have made those ones.
You want to change your lifestyle regardless.
Yes.
All right, so Mercy, I mean, when you look at those practicalities, I mean, I had wanted you to touch on it, but I've also, you know, had Peter just really touch on that. But then also one would assume and think that anytime we speak of budgeting, we're thinking of the high income earners. You know, the example that Peter has given there from on 50 to 500,000. So we oftentimes think that this is just for those that are actually earning 100 and above, 500. But budgeting cuts across.
Yes.
Okay.
Budgeting cuts across. There is no a lot of money and little money, especially when it comes to budgeting. Because what is budgeting is taking what you have or your income and how you spend it. So it doesn't matter if it's a lot of money or little money. It's staying within that budget. So when you talk about now budgeting in this aspect is what are you earning right now? What is happening in your life right now? What is the thing? Like, we just take a simple, let's make it so simple. I have 200 bob.
Yeah.
So I need to spend this money. So you write down your plan. So this is what I'm doing with this money, and this is what it's going to do at this certain time. Then now, why is budgeting important at this point? It's because you probably think you have little money. But why do you think you have little money? Is because you don't even have a budget of what am I going to spend, what am I going to buy first. So it helps you, first of all, look at...
So how do you start? What are the basics?
The basics is, this is what I earn. It is here. This is the plan. What do I need? And don't limit yourself. Write all your plans. It doesn't matter how big they are, just write them. Then tell yourself, this is the money I have. So how does it help? How is it practical? What are my priorities? What do I spend?
That's where you start from.
Yes, that is where.
What is your priority?
Yes. And also, another place where you would a better place to start now, like the case of Peter's client, is he does not have money issues. It's how do I spend the money? So he actually sat down and realized, I need help when it comes to this money that I did not have. That is another place to start. Not that he's short of money or what he needs. It's like, I have now this more money. If I just start using it without even having somebody to work with me or help me transition from this income to this one, I will mess up. So we can start from where you are. Peter likes talking about the financial life cycle, which also it's your own life cycle without the finances. Where am I right now, and what do I need right now? What is so important right now? So when you put it all down, then you'll be able to strike those things that you need to start with, and you live within what you have. Now that is what we call a budget.
I hear you.
Yes.
Do you feel like we always miss that aspect or that part of having a financial guide,
yes,
regardless of the amount that one is earning? So then now we don't even know how to go about planning, what to allocate to what. And
yes,
I could see Peter smiling on that one.
Yes. Do
you really miss, those guides so that we really don't know even what to do with the money that one is getting, regardless of the amount?
All the time. There is a very simple way of, first of all, even without budgeting, track your spending. Every day, anything you buy. Peter says less than 100. Me, I'll tell you even that PK of 5 bob. Just
you write it down.
Because it may just be a PK of 5 shillings, but you take 10. So that is equals to how much? that's a whole 50 shillings.
Yes.
So are we getting the small bits?
Yeah.
So start by even just tracking, and then now you realize, okay, those bits you're saying we miss them so much, and those little monies are the most important money. So when you budget, you will not have that time of even buying that PK of 5 shillings. If you budget, you have a plan, and you also have a list, as in a budget. The practicality of it is you start here and you end up here. So if you're going to a supermarket, you will have a list of things to buy, the ones you had budgeted for. So you go ticking your list, and that way you'll not take your 10 PKs and 50 bob has been rescued.
Also, we don't sometimes see the need of having a list. It's part.
Yes. So the practicality part now, that is what
that's
we're saying. That is where now it is very important. And when you start putting those small monies, giving the small money names, and knowing that it is not just a PK of 5 shillings, it is 5 shillings, then it starts making sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you go about prioritizing? Yes, I know Esther has touched on, if you can make a list, you can look at really what's more important, but to the nitty-gritty. So let's take a case scenario of, you've said that when it comes to budgeting, that it's not negated to a certain sect. It actually does cut across. So let's take a case scenario of 10,000. How do you budget for this money? What goes to what, and why?
Okay. The first thing is actually to realize the resources that are available. How much do I have? I have 10,000 shillings. Then we have tools now in this world that, of course, enable us to prioritize our spending. Number one, I'd like to say, without being so technical, look at even what you call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That simply tells us, where do I need to allocate my money starting from? I will not have 10,000 shillings and first of all go and purchase airtime of 1,000 shillings. So I'll begin that at the basic level. Okay, what are my basics? It's my food, clothing, and shelter. Okay, so I will allocate my money to these various basic needs. At that point in time, I am comfortable. I can live my life. So I'll go to the other now, priority spendings. I'm a parent. I have children. Therefore, I need to factor in education. I need to factor in the expenses and the costs that are attributed to that, to the education of my children. I'll need to factor in, say for example, I commute to work each and every day. How much do I spend? I spend 100 shillings going to work, and 100 shillings going back home in the evening. I need then to factor in that, because that also guarantees the fact that at the end of the 30-day cycle, if my income is 10,000, I am then able to still earn another 10,000, because I actually facilitated through transport for the availability of the fare to accord me the ability to go to work each and every day. I'll then need to look at, I like saying in our budgeting as Kenyans and as Africans, and specifically Kenyans, we are in a contemporary African society where you also have an aspect of what I like to call in our financial planning CDF. You have your folks who you have to send something small here and there. You have somebody that is looking up to you. You have an allocation, say for social welfare for yourself. These are things that we actually say you prioritize on. And then at the end of your budgeting, you must be able to put an end to your spending and say, this is where I actually finish with my money. So that ensures that you live within that cycle of that income comfortably. And this is actually important, because then it avoids you going overboard, spending money that you do not have, which then creeps into debt, which then means the money that I earn next month is money that I'm going to use to first of all pay debt before I start living, and my expenses have actually not changed from probably 10,000 that they were, or my income has not changed from 10,000. Actually, something interesting that I got from one of our partners in the coast, one of our trainers in the coast, is that money is the resource at hand. Now, everything you see around you is actually competing for the attention of that money. So budgeting is actually giving a name to each and everything that you need to spend on. Otherwise, if you have a child who has no name, they will respond to anybody that calls them. And it's the same thing with our money.
Yeah.
So what if you're not called Doreen and you're on the street and I call you Wewe, you respond.
Yeah.
True? If I meet somebody else there, I meet Mercy on the street, I call her Wewe, she will respond. But what if I call you Doreen, Mercy will not respond. Because I have been very deliberate about the value that thing gives to me, and therefore I am addressing it with my resources, as it were. So that makes sure that then you do not get into the creep of just meeting everything around your money that is coming your way and is actually demanding your money. And I like to think about it from the time you woke up this morning. How many things have demanded your money?
Even like you're on your phone just trying to budget. Yourself.
Yes, and
trying to allocate money to different areas.
And everything is calling you to spend.
Yes.
If you go into your social media
priority
today,
now.
Yes.
Our priority now.
Yes. So if you don't prioritize yourself, what happens? Go into your social media. How many invites to spend do you get? You will get some online shop is advertising something, and it's really fashionable and it's really trendy.
And so it's within the season of Christmas, where you need to buy everything that looks nice.
Yes. Think about this.
Yeah.
What has changed about your mall where you shop around this time?
Everything is inviting you to go to that place.
They're basically putting colors, so at night it's more conspicuous.
Even when you walk down the streets right now.
Do you think that is actually what is called the psychology of sales?
Okay.
Now, it is a business person inviting you to spend. So you are seeing this mall now when you're going home at night, it's looking very colorful. It's all, lit up. So they're actually telling you, please come in, enjoy a moment here. And they're not telling you to come and enjoy a moment walking around the aisles of the supermarket.
Yes.
They're inviting you to come and actually spend your money there. Yes. So you have to be very deliberate about the various things that are actually striving, running for the attention, for your attention, and the attention that they're actually seeking is not your attention to look at it, but it's your attention to put your money.
It's not attention to window shop.
Yeah. No.
This is not the moment for window shopping. You've done that through the year. Now come and
shop.
Come and buy.
Yes.
And I think this is why this conversation is quite pertinent at this particular moment. There's so much you can talk about in terms of priority, Mercy, but also talk to me about the takeaways when it comes to creating a budget. Yes, it's important to prioritize. What more do we need to be knowing when it comes to creating a budget?
Okay. Creating a budget. Again, I'll go to the person. And this time, allow me to use an analogy of a farm.
Okay.
Farm A and Farm B. Farm A is well prepared. It's manured. It's just ready, waiting for planting, waiting for a seed and rain for planting. Farm B, it's just been there. Nothing has been done. It has a lot of rocks, weeds, and everything. Also, it is still waiting for the seed, and then the seed and rain come. Both farms are planted. So what will happen to Farm A? Farm A will thrive and everything will be good. What will happen to Farm B? You can imagine the seeds are going to compete with everything that is there. So again, when it comes to budgeting, it is you. Sit down, analyze yourself. Why am I doing this budgeting? So that you can be able to implement it. Otherwise, if you just come and just do it as usual, it will be another thing we just keep on doing. So you ask if what is important.
Yeah.
Sit down, know what you want, list down, as Peter has said, write everything that is needed at this time, and even those things that that is the planning now, the preparing of the land, even those things that you'd want in the future, just put them there. And then I would have the second list of the priorities. These are how it's supposed to be done, and this and this. So as we are continuing talking about the budgeting, you are the most important thing here. You are the most important person in doing this. Are you ready? Are you ready to implement it? Because we are already in doing things, especially, see, the year is ending. We are all trying to find a place of now setting goals and doing all that. But are you
Coming up
ready?
with resolutions.
Yeah, so we're talking about Christmas, as Peter is saying, they're inviting and everything. Yeah. Did you even budget for Christmas? And what people do a lot, they really do budget for Christmas, and they know that they have this money for budget for Christmas. So let's say it's 10,000, but they did not look at other things that were important in it, so they left it out. So again, the farm that is ready, did you look at other things that are around it? Or now, are you also the farm B? You're just waiting for Christmas, it has come. So everything is looking so good, everything is looking so inviting. Even before you do what you're supposed to do, you've already done the things that you're not supposed to do. So all I will say again, it's you, the person. You're the most important part of this whole cycle. Sit down with yourself, look at what is supposed to be done and how, and then you start executing it. Now this one is going to help in the maintaining and also having a very good outcome, not just doing a budget and then you end up saying it is not working. And also we said when you're in a tough place, it's always good to seek help. Seek for professional help. We might think a budget is a very simple thing to do, but are you able to even probably you're coming from a place of debt. Are you even able to even write it down, because you don't even have anything to budget for? You don't have the income to budget for. What are you budgeting for? Yeah, so it is a process.
Yeah, and we'll delve deeper into the maintaining aspect of it, because I mean, what we can agree in unison is that it could be easier to just sit, plan, create, but then how do you ensure that this not becomes a culture, a norm for you? But also talk to us about the aspect of upbringing and family, you know, from where you've grown. Does this inform or influence how one budgets, or is it something you just read online or through such a conversation you're watching and you realize, wait a minute, I can actually learn how to budget? How does it go?
Yeah, I really like that topic, because we are all a product of our environment. Okay. So if you grew up in an environment that, as we were, we just walk into a mall and do things and go home, that is what informs what you do today. I usually say that a child is a sponge. Have you ever put a sponge in water? It slowly absorbs everything that is around them.
Sucks it in.
Sucks it in. And that is what our children also do. Or even you, that is what you did when you were young. Everything that was done by your parents, not only your parents, because I usually say in parenting there is no gap. Today I was with my parent, so tomorrow I went to my aunt, and then the other day I went to all those things. They are actually going to inform how you do things in future. So, and Peter talked about emotional doing things. It also happens from even what happened in the past. So let's take an example of, you grew up in this family where they would not buy anything outside the list. So this is the person you'll find in the supermarket. They will always have a list, and you'll wonder, you'll think they are so well organized, but probably they're even suffering because they don't know any other way of doing things, and they will just be there ticking all the boxes, and you will be like, okay, what is happening? Again, another person who they just used to wake up, today we are doing 1, 2, 3. That is what they do. Wake up, 1, 2, 3.
No plan,
no nothing, just do things, and you see, now that is not their mistake. That's why I said it could be easy for some people to do the budgeting. It could be so hard for some people to do it. This is from where am I coming from, and also now looking at the psychological effects of like ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. How are you cultured about money? Some of us were told, wachana na pesa ni mbaya. So even when you get this money, you will not even budget for the money. You just want the money to even stay in the bank. Some people have a lot of money. I'm shocked. Sometimes you're told, oh, this person has a lot of money. The money is in the bank.
You can't see what they're doing.
You wonder, okay, why are they looking like this? So you're wondering, they spend their money badly, but no, they don't know how to even budget and do, because they were cultured like money is bad. You should not buy good things. Good things are not for us. Yes, such things, they inform our childhood.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
You've just talked about how some people would, get to the supermarket, they have a strict list and you can't go outside that list.
Yes.
And how upbringing plays a big role. And it just reminded me that also, also growing up, we are those kids whereby your parents will tell you, nguo ya kesho ipange. Saki kono kipanga uniform asubuhi, and that has grown with me, so that tomorrow, as I'm going to, during that tomorrow I'll be coming to work tonight, I'll make sure the dress for tomorrow is somewhere seated, the shoes are somewhere seated, so that in the morning you're not after showering and then you're deciding, okay, is it green, is it yellow? because it grows with you.
Yes,
you know,
it
how you are
grows with you.
cultured on things and how you run things really just grows with you.
Yes.
But also, I don't want to move and make progress on this particular conversation. I'll talk about debt management. Where do you start from, for instance? So now we're talking about how important it is to budget. And of course, not just during this Christmas, but momentarily as you progress as an individual. But bear in mind, you're living at a time where you won't miss someone here and there having a debt, whether it's a small debt, somewhere there in the middle, or a big debt. We are getting loans to build, to buy houses and buy cars. So this being the background, at what point do you tie this to, Peter?
Okay. Number one, when we are having a conversation about that, I always like to start with a disclaimer.
Okay.
That the availability of credit is not a right to consume credit. The availability of credit is not a highway or an expressway for you to actually consume credit.
In simple terms, the hustler fund is here, but you're not being told to just go borrowing all through and through.
I have listened to people who took up that loan.
The first tier.
Yes, and it was interesting. I had somebody saying that they took up that loan and had not ridden in a digital taxi, and they actually took that moment to ride in a digital taxi. After that, they ate lunch, nice lunch in town, and they went home. And then the other day, I was in a public space, and I overhear some guys saying that these guys have already started asking me to pay back.
And they have not finished in the loan.
And they don't even know what they did with it.
They can't account for the money they took.
They can't account for it. Yeah. So debt is good, but good debt is good debt.
I think you need to repeat that statement.
Good
debt is good.
Yes, but it is only good debt that is good debt.
Okay.
So to speak.
Yeah.
There is bad debt, and bad debt is bad debt. There are things that you look today, Doreen, and say, okay, I consumed credit at this point because it was available, but really, was it important for me to consume that debt at that point in time? So we say the consumption of debt must be informed by the fact that this debt is actually coming to meet a very specific need that, number one, is actually not a lifestyle, is not meant to meet your lifestyle or to finance your lifestyle. Lifestyle meaning to pay your rent, to pay your you said that at the end of the year you will want to take yourself out for a holiday somewhere because you've worked so hard in the year that you now want to upgrade your car simply because the car that you've been driving is not as good as your peers are driving.
Yeah. So
you want to take up this conversation now and say, by the time I'm consuming debt, it is actually debt that is going to grow me financially. That's the very first point of debt, that debt must be consumed for growth, for development, for investment, and for things that will actually move you forward, and not to finance your lifestyle, which unfortunately is what very many people do today, that they actually consume debt with the reason to actually meet in or settle a bill that is presently pressing. So that becomes a big impediment now to financial growth, because somebody will not learn that even when I consume debt is actually to be repaid by the money that I earn, by my income, which will then be needed to be spent in my day-to-day living, will be needed to meet my expenses, as it were, will be needed for my investments, will be needed for my savings. Therefore, if it is consumed wrongly, it will then come in later to eat into my investments or into my ability to actually budget and to do those things that I would want my money to do for me. So that's the most important thing. That why, before you take up any debt, ask yourself, what is this debt for? Is it a good debt or is it a bad debt? And in this digital space, the invite to consume debt is eminent. It's with us each and every day. I think social media has made it so easy to actually consume debt, because if you run through probably your Facebook page, you will actually, as you're scrolling up and down your Facebook, you will actually realize that you will find 3 or 4 lenders offering you credit, and they're telling you can qualify.
They even try to send you messages. Some will just pop pop-up messages.
Yes. So, and you think, okay, this money is available, let me consume.
Yeah.
But the moment I consume, say, debt today of 100,000, say my payday is 25th of the month, the day 25th comes, if I probably even borrowed that money from a Shylock, I need to pay back that money from my 100,000. And if I had borrowed 50,000, then that means for that month, I actually earn half of that money.
Yeah, because you have to repay that.
That means I've already created a deficit. So for the next 1 month, which is probably my employment or month cycle in terms of my income, I have already a deficit of 50,000. So surviving into that period then becomes a problem. Then I easily now creep into debt. I will live on debt. It becomes a cycle. It becomes a cycle. It becomes a cycle.
But for those who argue, Mercy, yes, I understand. Don't take debt to finance your lifestyle. Kupigia mwili pole. You know, it's the end of the year. I've been working hard, just the way Peter has rightly put it. But those who argue, I mean, I'll take that debt, I'll pay it, take it paid. So what's the problem with that? At the end of the day, I'm paying for it.
Well, that's true. People, at most of the time, we feel like we're in control when things are just flowing. But I said I'm very passionate about life transitions. And some of these transitions are planned, some are not planned. So sometimes you don't even know what you're transitioning from. Even you will never know when you need to transition from these debts. Because if you can afford...
Because that has become like a norm for you?
Yes, it has become as a norm for you. And Peter said as if you take debt and you're able to pay, it's a good debt because it is helping you. But let me talk about the financial, the personal, the things you're saying, pigia mwili pole. So you've taken the debt. Have you considered where the money to pay will come from? Well, once you have a salary, and if you have that salary, where are you taking taking up the debt to finance your lifestyle? So what happens? People don't look at the transition from I will have to be getting extra money to pay this debt. Remember, there is no extra income that has come in.
So yet you are in some debt.
Yes, and you've already taken. It is okay kupigia mwili pole. Sisi wote tuko tu sawa. And please love yourself. But now, what you're going to be doing, you're putting yourself in trouble in a very short time to come, because probably you earned 200,000. And you've taken a debt that will take a whole 20,000 from your salary. And your salary has not increased with the 20,000. So what will happen is you'll start even acquiring more debts to even cater for the things that you do every day, your basics, because the loan or the debt will take out the 20,000 automatically. It will not ask you. So you will have a deficit. So you start digging other holes to fill a hole. You dig another hole to fill a hole. You dig another hole, and you end up having either a very deep hole or very many holes that you also need to fill. Yeah. So
this is how sometimes you find someone as in a chama, bank loan, all these other loans, because this one was paying for this one, while this one is trying to cater for this one, and all that.
Yeah, and Peter said it's a cycle. Then when the cycle, a cycle is a circle.
Yeah.
So when it will come to this end, so you will have nowhere else to go. So what will happen? So it's always good to even ask yourself, I have this chance to take up this debt. Yes, and they're actually very good. It's good to be credit, to have your credit worth. It's good. But now, once you spend it and you didn't know how to pay it, then just know that the choices you make are very, very important, because the consequences,
and they do have consequences.
You will not choose the consequences.
I hear you. Peter wants to jump in very quickly. We are strapped for time. Very quickly.
Actually, what I wanted to mention is that we've had a place, we're in a place in this country where debt is easily available, and it's actually is it called metamorphosized into our mobile money platforms. And we have one telco that is actually offering an overdraft facility that has become very popular in our country. But think about it today, it becomes a lifestyle of debt. Anybody who has actually accessed that facility many a times are never able to get out of it. Why? Because I have my credit limit of 10,000. Therefore, once Doreen sends me 15,000, I had a debt of 10,000. So what happens? In essence, I have 5,000 in cash.
Yeah, because the other one has...
Because the other one has actually been used to consume that debt. But what happens? I will still pay Mercy for services that she rendered, that amount of 14,000. Yeah. So what happens? I've actually gotten into a cycle where I'm consistently in a cycle of debt.
All right.
And that becomes a very dangerous place for us to be.
I mean, that already just orients my mind to asking so many other questions, but we have to cap it at this point. Perhaps you get more time. We'd also discuss on matters of investment and how to navigate around that. Also, when it comes to budgeting, what amount do you set aside for investment? But because of the constraint of time, we have to really cap it at this particular point. Nonetheless, thank you so much for your time. Highly appreciated and value your time.
Thank you.
I had created First Time with Mercy Chege Mwangi, who's a programs coordinator at Excellence Moulders International, and also Peter Mbui Gitau, the founder and CEO at Excellence Moulders International, centering our topic on budgeting and debt management. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya. Thank you for your time. Good morning.